But let's bring in my panel. There's a whole lot there as well. Shadow Minister for the Environment, Fisheries and Forestry, Senator John O'Doniham. He's from Tasmania. And John Roskam from the Institute of Public Affairs. Well, I'll tell you what, John, you at the IPA are always looking for the mood of the country. Read us the mood from Saturday night. What does the Voice say about Australia?
Thank you, Peter, for that question. But before I answer that, can I thank you for everything you have done to encourage debate, discussion, analysis about the most dramatic, radical constitutional change we've seen in our lifetime. You introduced many Australians to the wonderful, great leader that we have in Senator Jacinta Price. And since Saturday, I've had so many people say to me, thank you, Peta Credlin. So, Peter, what it means is that the overwhelming majority of Australians support the racial equality of all of us. They support the idea that Australia is still the best country in the world, that we reject radical change, and that we move forward together as one community, as one nation, as one people. Which is what Senator Jacinta Price and Warren Mundine have been talking about now for so long. So I think it's a success for the Australian way of life on Saturday.
Jono, people said, thank you for those lovely comments, John. People said, Jono, that Tasmania would go the way of the yes camp. You were pretty confident it would not. You were right. The PM now is rejecting an audit of the Aboriginal industry's spending. He's rejecting a Royal Commission into the abuse of children. But he sounds like he's pretty committed to his treaty, even though his voice failed.
Yeah, that is madness, Peter, that he wants to persist with this. And what John has said, and many others on this and other programs on this channel have said, voters never get it wrong, and they rejected this proposal he took to the Australian people last Saturday overwhelmingly. And so for the PM to reject some pretty basic propositions to understand exactly how the billions and billions of dollars that we are spending every year in this country to notionally support Indigenous communities to make sure it goes to where it needs to, rejecting that proposition but wanting to persist with a treaty, I think speaks volumes for the fact that this man is out of touch with the people he's supposed to lead. I hope he sees sense soon and abandons this course of action.
It's interesting, John. I mean, we've talked a lot about the politicians in this race, but of course there were the corporates overwhelmingly on the yes side. They've copped a hiding, so have all the woke sporting clubs. But I've sent a lot of emails, people have sent them to me, where their bosses are sending out on Monday and Tuesday an offer of trauma counselling or special leave. If you're at Melbourne Uni, of course, you can get special consideration, I think, for anyone who was on the yes side. But interestingly, at the universities, if you're a Jewish student, perhaps traumatised by what you're seeing in Israel, you have to apply for your leave. But if you're someone traumatised by the voice going down, you get it anyway.
Well, that's right, Peter. And for me, there's two aspects to that. One is, of course, the appalling double standards, the hypocrisy of businesses, education institutions. If yes had succeeded on Saturday, there'd be no special consideration for no voters. There'd be no leave for them. But there's something bigger than this. The intimidation, the bullying continues, Peter. What Melbourne University is effectively saying is that if you voted no on Saturday, if you believe all Australians are entitled to political and legal equality, regardless of their background, regardless of their race, then that view, which until a few years ago was accepted on all sides of politics, that view is now worthy of other people being counselled. That view is now worthy of people being put into a special category of consideration. That is bullying and intimidation, and it continues even after Saturday.
Jono, what I found interesting, and this is relating to rugby league and the jerseys the players wear, it wasn't so long ago that a few players who didn't want to wear a Pride jersey were roundly condemned, really vilified for having a religious stand on homosexuality and same-sex marriage. And then on the weekend, we see a whole lot of players who wouldn't sing the Australian anthem because of the voice decision, and everyone celebrates that.
Yeah, it's tolerance and inclusion if you agree with us. It's okay to do things if it's on the left, but if it's on the right, then it is the wrong thing to do. I mean, it is hypocritical, as has already been said. The fact that they celebrate someone standing there silently while our national anthem is being sung. That anthem is for all of us. It's not racist. It's not divisive, despite what some say. It represents this country and all of us. And the fact that there are some people who think it's a bold and brave thing to do to stand there silently, bringing shame on your country, as a matter of fact, when you do that, I think is outrageous. And I have to say, the double standards in the sporting sector, in the corporate world, those sorts of things are just ridiculous. I had someone give to me an example today just on that leave matter. One of those big accounting firms offering leave and counselling support to staff who were affected by the election of Donald Trump back when he won the US election. I mean, this sort of thing is ridiculous. And, the idea that people get upset by these things does not properly assess how resilient I think Australian people actually are.
Hey, just quickly, John, do I read this as a crack in the door or a bit of light coming in? Because it looks like the Victorian Liberal Party, this is the parliamentary party that expelled Moira Deeming. The parliamentary party are looking like they're going to support her push for an inquiry into gender-affirming care for children. This is what we've seen happen in the UK. They've had such an inquiry. I think this is a good move, but does this mean Moira's coming back into the fold?
Well, I hope that it does. And in addition to the views of Moira being listened to in the parliamentary party of the Liberal Party, it's an indication, this decision from the Liberals here in Victoria, that maybe they're listening to parents. They're listening to the views of mainstream Australians. And if politicians listen to the views of mainstream Australians more often, we'd get better outcomes and there'd be a lot less out of touch, as we saw on Saturday.
All right, got to leave it there. Senator Dunningham and John Roskam, thank you.